This is Financially Fit Radio with Cory Sickles from Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors. Retirement isn't just about saving, it's about having a strategy that helps you navigate market ups and downs, combat inflation, and secure the future you deserve. That's why Financially Fit Radio is here to tackle your biggest financial concerns, share actionable strategies, and help you move toward your retirement goals with confidence. And now, here's Financially Fit Radio with Cory Sickles.
Welcome back to another episode of Financially Fit Radio. I'm Cory Sickles with Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors. If you'd like more information about anything that we discussed today, feel free to give us a call at 614-760-0670, or you can always visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And while you're on our website, feel free to click on that radio page. You can catch today's show, previous episodes, and you can also subscribe to our podcast programs on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, or Spotify. Also, feel free to watch today's show on our YouTube channel. Just type in Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors. You can watch today's show, previous shows. You can also subscribe so you can be kept up to date when we actually post all of our short videos on different types of financial topics as well. Well, today we're going to talk about really what to look for in a financial advisor. You know, this could be one of the most important decisions that you make, because really we're talking about money and more importantly, on what's your retirement truly going to look like when that day does come. But before we dive into that, let me introduce to you my co-host this week and every week, and that's Tony Shore. Tony, how are you today?
Oh, Cory, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show today. Sounds like a great topic, because a lot of people first wonder, do I need a financial advisor? Or they feel like they do, but they want one they're comfortable with, and they don't know what questions to ask or what to look for. So this is a very important show, because for multiple reasons, a multitude of reasons, you've pointed out that people do need a financial advisor. And I've learned that in my lifetime. I can't imagine being prepared for retirement and avoiding costly mistakes without working with a financial advisor, somebody overlooking the investments, the decisions, the timing, the planning, the income plan for retirement. You have to have a financial advisor in your corner to help you plan things like Medicaid, Medicare costs, healthcare costs, taxes. So this is a good show. I'm excited. I'm really pumped. I've been spending a lot of time with the family. They came over and grilled last weekend. I love this time of year, because at this time of year, you can get away with eating both a brat and a burger in the same sitting without anyone questioning it, right?
That is kind of true. You get it when you get to that July, August, September time frame, whether it's July 4th, whether it's Labor Day weekend, or whether it's just inviting the family over for a little grill.
Yeah, exactly. I love grilling in the summer. How about you?
Yeah, I like grilling. I'm not really a person that likes to grill during the winter if it's cold out.
Yeah, I don't usually. I have.
There's a lot of people that like to do that.
Yeah.
You know, they grill all, year round. I'm more of, I want it to be nice and comfortable out, maybe have a drink while I'm actually grilling. And
July and August.
Running in and outside to try to stay warm. So, I definitely think the best time to do that is spring, summer, and fall.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you've been really busy. You've got a lot going on over there. That's for sure.
We do. We have a lot going on. This is also, my time to maybe take some vacation time, and you try to build that all in with trying to meet with clients and put together financial plans and all that stuff during the summer. Usually our summers somewhat lighter. A lot of people are doing vacations. If not, their children or grandchildren involved in a lot of different types of sports, traveling around, doing those type of things as well. But it's still busy. I think today's show it's really a good show, right? I mean, when you really look back at it, Tony, why do you really hire a financial advisor, right? I mean, it's really the same thing you would do if you actually want to hire a coach, a doctor, or, even a mechanic, right? You want to get better results with with the money that you're investing. You want to avoid costly mistakes, because, I mean, those mistakes could have cost you, the more mistakes you make, I mean, it's going to cost you at the end of the day as well. And I think a lot of it is this. It's going to be able to give you a peace of mind, right? Knowing that you actually work with an advisor, someone's overlooking your overall portfolio or your overall estate planning and things like that as well, because it can be stressful. And the nice part about it is, if you have questions or concerns about any types of financial topics or just issues or concerns that come up, now you have someone to actually bounce it off of to make sure you're going to make the right decision.
Yeah, and that it's guidance, right? I mean, you need a guide. Would you try to climb Mount Everest without a guide or a Sherpa? You wouldn't do that.
No,
And you shouldn't do that. And just
right.
like you shouldn't try to manage your own investments, you shouldn't go to just one person and hope, okay, this person does investments, but that's all I need. No, you need a trusted, independent financial professional who's going to be able to look at the big picture, meet your needs, and cover all the areas. Somebody who has a holistic practice like yourself, Cory. So you need guidance, and guidance that you can trust, right?
Yeah. For our listeners out there, the one thing I would probably tell you, and you can just think about this, if you don't trust your financial advisor that you're with today, then you're probably not worth the right type of, you're not probably, you're probably not you're with that right type of financial advisor. You
Yeah.
probably need to go out and get a second opinion, because trust is really the most important thing. You're going to rely on them for important financial decisions. They could be complex financial decisions. And you want to make sure that the advice that you're actually receiving is something that's trustworthy, right? So trust is such a big part of it. And the other part of it is, obviously it takes time sometimes to build trust. And the way that you do build trust with your advisor is as basically having questions, having concerns, and getting the feedback that you need in order to make the right decision. And that could be retirement, it could be taxes, it could be investments, it could be estate planning, it could be healthcare. And our case, we also have Medicare specialists. The most important thing I think you need to realize is all these type of complex financial decisions, you don't have to do it alone. That's what that advisor is there to do. In my case, we deal with this stuff day in and day out. Have we made, wrong decisions? Sure. But, you own up to it and you try to make sure that you don't make that mistake again. But trust is so important to be able to have in your advisor, because when you think about it, this relationship could be the rest of your lifetime.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you're working with someone that you trust. You want to make sure you're working with a fiduciary. You want to make sure that you're working with someone that always has your best interest in mind when we start talking about making decisions that you're going to have to make.
Yeah.
And
the
go ahead,
fiduciary, you mentioned fiduciary right
You're
there.
right.
And that word means a lot. And that's probably one of the first questions you should ask a prospective advisor that you're thinking about working with, or a financial planner. Are you a fiduciary? Because that means they have a legal responsibility. They are audited each year to make sure that the decisions their clients are making, the things they're recommending to their clients and doing for them, are in their client's best interest. And that's really important, to work with a fiduciary who has that expertise, who has those skills and that background and certification, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, you definitely want to work with a fiduciary. We're certified, financial fiduciaries here, but we're also, it's part of when you become a registered investment advisor, that's part of it as well.
Yeah.
But by being a fiduciary, we're always going to look out, what's best for our clients. And the overall goal, if you really think about it, we want to help you we want to help you eliminate any costly mistakes, missed opportunities. But more importantly, by having a financial plan in place, that means if something happens tomorrow, we know where all your assets are going to go, how they're going to be divided. You're going to avoid probate. There's a lot of things that kind of go with that. But by having that piece of paper, or having that we actually provide a nice little booklet or a binder, for our clients. We put together financial plans. The nice part is you actually have a blueprint that's going to show you where you are today and what's it look like for me 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from today as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
having a written plan like that is second to none. It really helps to see where you're at right now, see where you're headed and where you can end up if you follow this plan and work with a trusted financial professional. So you want to make sure that they have those credentials, the fiduciary, registered investment advisor, and your office. You have people who specialize in Social Security maximization, Medicare specialists, healthcare, investments, tax planning. You have to incorporate all of that. And that's what you do there at Safe Harbor, isn't it?
yeah, in reality, the best situation I think for a client, Tony, is to be able to work with an advisor that knows everything about you,
Yes.
right? I know some people out there don't want to say, I'm going to give all my money to advisor A, I'm going to give some to advisor B, and because they don't want all their eggs in one basket. But really what's happening is then that advisor that you truly trust, they really can't put together the overall picture for you or a personalized strategy because they don't see everything.
Yeah,
And
and it all has to work together. And it's not like you're putting all your eggs in one basket because all your money isn't with that person. It's in different investments, it's in different vehicles, tools. It's not like you're personally holding the money, but you work with great money managers, investment portfolio, uh, portfolio managers that do a great job. And you have all of these specialists that you work with and surround yourself with. So, yeah, I don't like that either. And I've seen that where I had a relative that did that, and they thought that's how they were. They said, I always hear, don't put all my eggs in one basket. And I said, that means don't have all your money in stocks at risk. You got to have some in an emergency fund. You have to have some in principal protection. You have to have not everything in stocks. You have to have some in bonds and some in other things and some in the bank. I said, that's how you do it. But if you have one financial advisor who looks at the big picture and can see the full puzzle box, that's how they're going to help you put together that 1,000-piece puzzle, right?
it is. And if you really think about it, we're going to customize that plan for differently for everybody.
Yep.
Everybody has different needs, different goals, different time frames they're going to retire, different ages. I mean, if you really think about it, everything's different about that. Now, at Safe Harbor, we have the same process that we take everybody through. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to have a different plan customized to them. And the other part of that is you think of when you really the first time you do a financial plan and you have that that binder that we actually give you, that's today. Now we're going to meet again maybe next year or maybe every 6 months or whatever it is, but all of a sudden things could happen. Life changes, right? We might have to adjust that financial plan based upon what happens. Spouse passes away, maybe you got married, maybe you got a divorce, maybe now you have kids, or now you have grandkids. Things change or you finally quit your job and you retire. Those are all life-changing events that might have an impact on that financial plan that now that we have to go in and update, possibly modify, and just to be able to make sure that we're keeping up with you as you live your life on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so important. I love the fact that it's a personalized plan, and that's really huge because everybody's situation is different. You're always talking about that, and I think that's critical, Cory. And that's what you do for your clients. It's not a one size fits all solution, so that's really good. So, and you put your clients first, don't you? You have that client first mentality, right? That's who you work for.
Yeah, I mean, that is who we work for. And that's what we're here to do on a daily basis is to be able to help that client out today and for the future, right? And a lot of that also might come into play, Tony, is dealing with emotions, right? If you do it yourself and you're invested in the market and the market tanks 20%, a lot of people just kind of freak out, right? And you have to, as an advisor, you have to kind of like say, hey, volatility is part of it.
Yep.
let's go back to the plan that we actually put in place for you and say, you know what? Only 20% of your money, for example, is actually experience what's going on in the market today because we have you diversified in multiple different types of products. So, we talk about diversification all the time, and it's so important to be able to make sure that you have money invested in the market. You have stocks, you have bonds, you might have an annuity, you might have life insurance. There's different types of things that you can do that's going to be able to help you accept, or not accept, but deal with when there is volatility in the market. We had it earlier this year.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so important to be able to pick up that phone, call your advisor, or hopefully your advisor is calling you and say, hey, here's what we're doing.
Yeah, and you're able to keep the emotion out of it and keep your clients grounded, focused on long-term goals, avoid those costly mistakes when there's market volatility because, when the market gets volatile, people make mistakes. That's why they end up, buying high and selling when it's low. And that's the
exactly right.
opposite of what you want to do. And working with an advisor will help prevent that.
Yeah, and the one thing I always tell my clients, Tony, is this. You don't really, obviously we pay a fee for anything we're managing in the market, right? You pay me a fee for that. But if the market does well, every advisor looks good.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Where you really pay me the money is when the market goes the other way.
Yeah.
So it's not so much what you're earning or what you're growing. Sometimes it's what you don't lose because you didn't panic.
Yeah.
You stick to the plan and you're going to be in a better situation 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's the goal. And it depends on your time horizon, but a lot of people have, you're trying to make your money last, even if you're close to retirement. You could need it to last 30 years. So you still have some need for long-term investing and growth. And that's what you help your clients with. And you also help them with medium and short term. So you look at things like time horizons. And if you're not working with a financial professional who does that, I think one of the keys is, what to look for in a financial advisor. Get a second opinion. See what they have to say.
Exactly right. I mean,
yeah.
I think if you don't trust who you're with today, you need to go get a second opinion tomorrow.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion just to make sure the advisor you're working with has you on the right path. It's so important to be able to do that, right? And I mean, it just really is.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing you also want to look at is, you got my plan in place. You're doing all this type of stuff. But what are you going to do for me on a daily basis, really from a technology standpoint as well, right? Do you have apps, for example, where I can actually check and see what my balances are doing today? Do I have, we have our generational vault. We talked about it before on the show. Our clients can log in. They can see all their accounts they have with us. They even have the ability to put in my 401k, for example, that I'm working with. That's with, say, Fidelity, and I'll get a daily feed on that account balance. So when you actually log into our generational vault, you get a complete overview of your overall net worth.
Yeah,
it's so important to be able to see globally what I'm truly worth, where all my money is, and if something would happen to you, now you're in a better position because now you have one place that has all your investments in there as well.
Yeah. I think that's huge. You have to have access to the right tools, the right technology, and a team. And I think that team aspect is something you're going to look for too. Does your financial advisor have a Medicare and healthcare specialist on staff that you can talk to? Does the advisor have a direct contact to the senior portfolio manager or president of the investment firm where your investments are? Most don't. Most can't pick up the phone like you can, Cory, and get the president of the firm or the portfolio manager, the senior portfolio manager on these portfolios where their money's at to say, hey, what's going on? The market did this. What should we be looking for here? Should we be concerned? What are you guys doing? That is fantastic. And I mean that up to the second, contact on what's happening and what's going to happen and what's being done is huge.
That's right. And the people you just mentioned, whether it's a portfolio manager or whether it's your tax person or whether it's an attorney with your estate planning or a Medicare specialist, those are things that pop up here and there throughout the year, right? But I think you also want to sit down and look at it from an advisor standpoint. If you're going to work with an advisor, what type of team do they have when that advisor's not there? I
Right.
think that's so important, right? If you need money, you don't call me. You call my staff.
Yeah.
One of the things that we try to do, we have 3 people in here that basically handle customer service for our clients. But the
Yep.
one thing we try to do is if you call in our number, we try to pick that up, during business hours all the time. Try not to have that go to voicemail. We
Yeah.
try to pick up every phone call that we possibly can. And then the biggest part of it is if you look at a lot of our staff, they all have their insurance licenses, so they can answer basic questions about if you have questions on an annuity and things like that. But more importantly, normally what you're wanting is money,
Yeah.
right?
True.
Because all of a sudden you had an unexpected expense. You want to make sure that when you make that phone call that they're going to be able to handle that particular issue for you right then and there so you can get the money as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Now, there's other customer service, whether you want to change beneficiaries or whether you just have basic questions, and we're here for that too as well. But I think it's just so important to make sure that the advisory firm that you're working with has a team to be able to handle those type of daily tasks that you shouldn't expect your advisor to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And that's a really good point. And to talk about a team, I mean, you work with tax professionals, estate planning attorneys, insurance experts, Medicare experts. You cover the whole gamut, and you do a lot of Social Security maximization planning. All of these things are so important if you're putting together a financial plan or a plan for your future, especially a retirement income plan. Whether you're in your 40s and you're investing, or you want to know what to do with your 401k or IRA or an inheritance, or you're 60 and you're about to retire, you need that written plan in place, especially before you retire. And you want to make the right decisions so you can have the retirement you dreamed of. And working with the right financial advisor could make or break that decision. And you want to find somebody that cares more about things than just the numbers, right?
Exactly right. I mean, you really do. I mean, again, this could be a lifelong, lifetime relationship, and you just want to make sure that they always have your best interest in mind. And I think another thing, the last thing I'll talk about really quick, Tony, and that is the other part of it is you want to make sure that the advisor you're working with is constantly communicating with you. And
Yes.
obviously, we're not just talking about first, second, annual reviews and things like that. What do they do? Are they sending you updates quarterly or whatever else? We send out monthly newsletters. We touch our clients also by doing YouTube videos about what's going on in the market. I mean, so communication is a big key, and obviously, communication is sometimes can be lost, and that's where I think a lot of clients, not our clients, but I think a lot of clients start thinking about, well, you know what, I don't really trust them. They're not communicating with me, and that's usually when you want to take that next step, and is to kind of now start searching to find that other financial advisor.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's really important. Communication is key. And, bottom line, it's like, how do you feel about this person? Is this somebody you can have a long relationship with, to work with you and your family over the years? And do you like what they do at their firm, their philosophy? It has to be a good fit for both. Like, you want to find people that, want your help and want to work with you, and vice versa. They need to feel comfortable with you, and that's why you don't charge anything for those initial consultations and meetings. You want to get to know each other first, and I think that's great. You're not trying to tell them what to do in the first meeting or sell them anything. You're just there to say, hey, we're going to run reports, show you where you're at, figure out what your goals are, and how we might be able to help you meet those goals and needs, right?
That's exactly right. And for our listeners out there, just remember all meetings are complimentary. We're here to help guide you to make sure you have the best retirement that you can. So just, you can give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit our website at safeharboroh.com in order to set up that complimentary meeting with us.
All right. That sounds great. Thanks, Cory, for another great show. Listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning into the show today. That does it for today's episode of Financially Fit Radio with our host, Cory Sickles.
Thank you for joining us for Financially Fit Radio. Don't head into retirement without a strategy that addresses both income and taxes. For more information, please contact Cory Sickles at Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors at 614-760-0670 or visit safeharboroh.com now. Join us again soon for another episode of Financially Fit Radio.
Investment advisory services are offered by Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Investment Advisor. Insurance products and services are offered through Safe Harbor Retirement Group, LLC, an affiliated company. Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors, LLC, and Safe Harbor Retirement Group, LLC, are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any government agency. All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.